I'm Pastor Heather Apel.
And I'm Pastor Jason Antley.
We are glad to bring greetings to you on behalf of the South Carolina Synod's Compensation Guidelines Task Force. Hopefully you remember the video from last year that included a major update in our compensation guidelines. If you didn't see it, we would encourage you to watch it, and we've linked it below in the comments for your convenience. Over the years, this document has reflected Martin Luther's desire that the church be constantly reforming, as the document has been updated, edited, and reshaped a little each year due to synodical needs, a changing world, and when noticeable flaws or omissions were brought to our attention. As an example, 2 years ago at the Synod Assembly, it was brought to the floor that the base salary of a first-year, first-call candidate had been stagnant for a considerable amount of time, especially in light of inflation and increased cost of living over the years. To address this and other concerns, Bishop Jenny put together a team of lay and rostered leaders throughout the Synod to meet, study, and determine an appropriate response.
After some research, we found that the base salary for a first-year, first-call candidate had not changed for at least 15 years, possibly longer. And as you can imagine, $35,000 in today's world does not have the same buying power as it did in 2009, so a change was warranted. The challenge was, and still is, that for every dollar we increase the base salary, that raises every other figure in the pay package, including housing allowance, Social Security allowance, retirement, and medical benefits. In addition, we understand the financial hardships and struggles of many of our Synod congregations. Some are already finding it difficult to afford a rostered minister as it is. And the question became, should we allow these financial difficulties to limit the need to increase the base salary, or should this document reflect what is fair and just for rostered ministers in South Carolina and let each context consider their future in light of appropriate recommendations? This group chose the latter, recommending that the base salary number be increased, not all at once, but by $3,000 a year over a 3-year period. This year's guidelines reflect the second year of this 3-year period. By making these incremental increases, we will not fully reach the inflation rate from all the years of base salary stagnancy, but we will position ourselves to be fairer to our rostered ministers and also to be more in line with surrounding synodical compensation standards.
We know that some of you might be thinking that this change only appears to assist rostered ministers, but does not offer any benefit to congregations. However, when the South Carolina Synod and its congregations maintain an adequate level of compensation for its leaders, it allows our incredible pastors and deacons to remain in this synod, where they can use their gifts and talents to benefit congregations, their communities, and the synod as a whole. We have heard firsthand stories of rostered ministers who have left this synod, not because they didn't love the ministry where they were serving, but because they could not afford to live under the synod's current recommendations. So they moved to other synods with higher compensation guidelines. Increasing the base salary over this 3-year period, and then keeping up with inflation and other financial changes in the future, will allow the South Carolina Synod to attract and retain great leaders for the congregations and ministry sites of this synod. These compensation changes may also cause a congregation to examine its mission, ministry, and leadership needs when they realize they are unable to afford the compensation of a full-time pastor on their own. Conversations about change and new ways to look at ministry are usually hard to accept and move toward. However, we have seen over a dozen congregations move to some form of a yoking or multi-site congregational model in the last 3 years, which has given new life and energy, both to the congregations and the rostered ministers who serve there.
We know that with any change, there will be questions and possible concerns, and We fully understand that it is impossible for one document to fully satisfy all calls and contexts, but we believe that the document is helpful to most. We also understand that this document is just the beginning, hopefully leading to healthy conversation and negotiation between the rostered minister, congregation, and synod over what fair compensation might look like for each call and context. Please understand that our Compensation Guidelines Task Force continues to meet, pray, and wrestle with these recommendations. We, the members of the task force, believe that having this document reflect what is fair and equitable to our rostered ministers is vitally important. If you have questions or concerns about this document, please feel free to reach out to the Synod office. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation, and we look forward to joining with you at our upcoming assembly.